Welcome to the Sports Watchdog radio show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
the Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sports Watchdog radio show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm Mason Kern here with you every Sunday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. Obviously, I'm certainly glad you decided to join me this morning, and as always, I do have some great stuff in my kennel. Today, we're going to be hearing from three-time NHL Stanley Cup champion with the Chicago Blackhawks, Bryan Bickell, as well as current Drone Racing League pilot Jordan Jet Temkin. I'll also be covering some sports hot topics, and for you basketball-specific fans, interesting happenings on the hardwood. So in our first stop in Sports Hot Topics this week, we throw it on over to the soccer pitch. Now, Wayne Rooney, if you haven't heard, he plays for Everton now. I'm sure many of you caught up with him in his prime when he played for Manchester United, but he moved over to Everton. He's been there for the last few seasons now. But now it's being reported that the former Premier League superstar is coming over to the MLS. That's right, Wayne Rooney's time in the Premier League is over and done. He's going to play his last Premier League game here in the coming weeks, and he's going to move over to the MLS to play for the DC United. Now, the move, apparently and reportedly, it's being agreed upon that Rooney will make $15 million in his new contract total. That's what's being reported. And DC United is the team that won out, apparently. Apparently, Rooney had talked to a number of MLS franchises before actually deciding that he was going to play for DC United. But this is a big pickup for MLS, and obviously everyone's been saying for years now that the MLS is not as good of a league as the Premier League teams, and I would agree with that. It's not yet, but some former Premier League stars have come over. You have Didier Drogba, who used to play for Chelsea, who's now playing for the Phoenix Rising, which isn't actually an MLS team yet, but it's poised to be pretty soon. Then you also have Zlatan Ibrahimovic, obviously has been a superstar in Europe, the Swedish national superstar, who now plays for the LA Galaxy, and now you're going to have Wayne Rooney, the former Manchester United star, who's going to come over and play for DC United. So I think the MLS is poised to get a lot more talent in the coming years, and we'll see if Rooney really makes a big impact. I mean, obviously Zlatan has come over and made his impact for the Galaxy. Wayne Rooney, maybe not the best superstar in the Premier League or in Europe, but I think he'll be able to make a pretty big impact in the MLS. Now we'll pitch it on over to the diamond now, as it's being reported by CBS that the Red Sox pitcher David Price will make his next start, and he plans to stop playing Fortnite at the ballpark. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the game that's really sweeping the nation right now, but it is Fortnite, and apparently Fortnite is taking over the Red Sox clubhouse, as a number of players have been playing the famed game, and they've kind of been making some updates. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Avengers movie Infinity War as well, but Thanos, the main character or the main bad guy, I should say, in that movie, they're actually making an update in Fortnite where you can play as Thanos. But now David Price, he's been silent with injury for some time. They've been running tests on him. Well, he's been playing Fortnite in the Red Sox clubhouse, and well, apparently he's gonna stop that because apparently it's taken too much time out of the training, and it's becoming a distraction to the players, though. But, I mean, David Price has come out and said it's not an issue, and he promises that playing Fortnite isn't that actually causing any trouble or anything like that. But he's made a vow to stop playing, so I thought that was pretty funny. But David Price is expected to make his next start for the Red Sox. Obviously, the Red Sox have been red hot to start this season, along with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who also are on quite a roll right now. But it'll be nice for this Red Sox team to kind of get one of their ace pitchers back, who honestly is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. But you speak of hot teams, and you speak of hot rivalries, and the New York Yankees are also extremely hot right now as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the Yankees respond next time they play with a healthy David Price and a non-Fortnite playing David Price back in the lineup. Let me know on social media what you think about these and other interesting sports topics at @sportswatchdog on Twitter and at @thesportswatchdog on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. But for now, we'll just take a quick break. The Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. We'll be right back after this.
Enhance your digestive and gastric wellness with Pure Vegan Digestive Enzyme Complex from Nutritional Brands. It has prebiotic, probiotic, and enzymes all in one, reducing the need for multiple supplements taken in a day. It's a proprietary blend promoting enzyme activity for protein, fat, and carb breakdown and helps balance intestinal flora. Plus, it's vegan friendly. You can find this digestive and gastric wellness product at mbpure.com. That's mbpure.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining me on the line now is Bryan Bickell, a former NHL professional hockey player who unfortunately is living with relapsing multiple sclerosis. Bryan was drafted with the 41st pick in the second round of the 2004 NHL entry draft by the Chicago Blackhawks. He made his debut in the league on April 5th, 2007, scoring his first career goal in the same game against the Detroit Red Wings. He won 3 Stanley Cups during his time in the NHL, the first with the Blackhawks in 2010. The next season, he would put up career-high totals of 17 goals and 20 assists in 78 appearances. Bryan and the Blackhawks would go on to win the Stanley Cup again in 2013, and he received a 4-year, $16 million extension for his playoff performances as well. He won his third and final cup in the 2015 season, again with the Blackhawks during their reign of dominance as well. However, health concerns became an issue, and Bryan was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes on a draft day move at the 2016 NHL entry draft. Bryan saw limited action with the Hurricanes after he was diagnosed with MS, learning how to manage his disease and his professional career at the same time. Bryan has since retired from professional hockey and ended with career totals of 66 goals and 70 assists over 395 regular season games. He also tallied 20 goals and 19 assists in 75 postseason appearances. So Bryan is here to share his story with us, how he dealt with MS while playing professional hockey, and the track that he is on now. Hey Bryan, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. So glad you could join us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great.
Yeah, Bryan, thank you so much again. So first off, can you tell me a little about your experience and kind of your initial reaction after being diagnosed with relapsing MS back in November of 2016?
It was, it was tough. There was a whole bunch of questions, over my game over the, a year or 2 years. It was, upsetting, but it was revealing at the same time to know that I did have something. It was, this was, slowing my game down, and getting the news in November of last year was, life changing in life and in my career. So. We take it head on, and I think we're moving the right direction and doing, good things.
Well, that's, like I said, great to hear, and you say that things are moving in the right direction. So what are you currently doing to kind of manage your MS right now?
To manage my MS, I'm chasing around my kids. That's definitely keeping me, my exercise up.
Definitely.
So just to stay active, I think is the biggest thing. Playing hockey my whole life, I was an active player, but hockey's done to stay physically fit and eating, the right things. Kind of what I did during hockey, keeps the symptoms and keeps me, moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely feel like you have to keep a pretty strict regimen and kind of stay regimented in that way. And looking back, I mean, you just recently retired from hockey, but how impactful was this MS on your hockey career? How much of an impact did it really have on you and your game as a whole?
It was tough. I didn't know if I was going to ever play hockey again. I know that, the first 3 or 4 months was, a tough part of my life and for my career. I didn't know if I was going to, I didn't know where this was going to lead, hockey-wise or life-wise. And, for me to, fight back and get back in the gym and, finish off where, I wanted to finish off. And it was playing in the NHL, and I'm happy to,
definitely.
To do that with the Hurricanes, and then, scoring on my last shot, it was definitely, icing on the cake for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned that last shot. I mean, in your last game, you did score the shootout goal. So that was actually, I understand it was the first shootout goal of your career. So what was that kind of experience like your last NHL game, and then getting that goal as well?
Yeah, I think, it was emotional. Announcing, game before that the game in Philly was going to be the last one. But then, scoring in the last game, it was, definitely special. I only had one attempt before that, so to get my percentage up to 50%, it was a nice touch. It was a good feeling with all my, friends and family that, supported me over the years or at that game to see that puck going and how it went in. I could still hear that sound. And, and it was a good moment for me and my family.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can imagine that was pretty emotional for sure. And I mean, that obviously a pinnacle moment in your career, kind of to end it all. But you did win 3 Stanley Cups, like I mentioned before. So what were kind of your favorite moments as you went through the playoffs and then multiple times winning the cup? Do you have any specific memories that you look back on, which cup would you say is your favorite to have won?
A lot of moments. Scoring your first goal, your first game. Those are big moments. Getting drafted. I was fortunate to win a couple championships, but I have to say the 2013 series or playoff run was a big one for me in my career and my life. Scored a big goal in Game 6 to tie the game up, and then 17 seconds later to win the ultimate goal is the Stanley Cup. I think that year alone is going to be my special of my career, and kind of put me on the map of what kind of hockey player I was, and got me through my career.
Definitely, and it definitely earned you a nice little paycheck for the next seasons too, like I said before. But I mean, looking back, how was draft day for you? Because I understand that NHL drafts are kind of different from maybe the NBA draft or the NFL draft, where these kids are getting put into the league right away. I mean, the entry draft, you didn't actually make your debut until I think 3 years later. So can you describe that process a little bit?
Yeah, so I got drafted in 2004. I got drafted. The draft was in Carolina. It's kind of going on a big circle where, the first time I won the Cup was in Philly, and we lived in Philly, and then I got drafted in Carolina.
Wow.
And then getting my first call up, a couple years later, I played in junior for a couple years before getting called up to pros, and then being in the minors for, over a course of 3.5 years, getting called up my first year pro, playing my first game then, and then kind of worked my way up to 2011 to get my foot in the door, and then to be a NHL player, be a part of championships over those years, or things that you never could take back. Those are the moments that I'm going to be telling my grandchildren.
Definitely, yeah, and I think those early years prior to NHL, great developmental period before obviously getting thrust right into the league. But look, I mean, we go back to this MS situation. I mean, you've seemingly done and made great strides with it so far. So, are you doing anything now to maybe give advice or help others with MS? What would you say to some other people who might be struggling?
Yeah, my story and hearing other people's stories. I think big thing, getting diagnosed and moving forward is a big thing to be positive. That's me and my wife. We wanted to turn a negative into a positive and have a positive attitude is a big key in anything in life. And I think we stepped forward and we did that for the right moments to for me to get back on the ice. But I've partnered up with Biogen, the drug that I take, Tisabri, to kind of tell my story. Tisabri is the drug that I've been taking from day one. It's a great drug. It's every drug has a risk. This one has a rare brain infection of EML, but for the months and the years that I've been taking, it's going in the right direction, and I'm happy to be on their team and telling my story.
Definitely, yeah. It's a great story for sure. Stay positive. Great advice. Thank you so much, Bryan, for coming on the show. Our listeners definitely surely appreciated it. Where can they go to get more info on you and MS as well?
Yeah, if they want to follow, me more of my story, you can go to my story myfightingstory.com, and check what how I'm doing, what things I'm doing to help out the people, and that's what me and my family are going to be all about. I'd be able to help out others and make their lives better.
Well, thank you so much again, Bryan. So great. The Sports Watchdog radio show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 will return right after this.
For those seeking serious skills on the green, up your game with Blast Motion Golf, the world's most accurate and consistent real-time motion capture technology for driving and putting. This removable Bluetooth-connected motion sensor attaches to a driver or putter shaft. It analyzes and records putts and full swings for 8 hours, allowing users to quantify progress, view video highlights, and share videos via social networks. Learn more at blastmotion.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog radio show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. I'm Mason Kern, and joining us now is Drone Racing League pilot Jordan Jet Temkin, reportedly the fastest drone racer in the world. DRL is the pro drone racing sport for elite pilots. With custom-built racing drones traveling in speeds above 90 miles per hour, pilots race first-person view through the most insane three-dimensional courses ever created outside of a video game. The 2018 season will feature 7 races across the globe that will be broadcast on the best sports programs in the world, including ESPN, Sky Sports, and ProSieben. Jet won the 2016 and 2017 DRL Allianz World Champion seasons as seen in 75 countries on those same sports programs. He's in the midst of the 2018 DRL season, where he just recently competed at the University of Arizona's Biosphere 2, the world's largest earth science facility. So Jet is here to talk about the current DRL season, his past championship experiences, and racing at Biosphere 2. Hey Jet, welcome to the Sports Watchdog radio show. Glad you could be here.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Jet, once again. So first off, can you kind of just give us some background on the Drone Racing League and how did you originally kind of get involved?
Sure. So Drone Racing League is, I'd consider, the top echelon of drone racing at the moment. It's on ESPN. That means a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And then it's, we race these custom-built drones that go 90 miles an hour in three-dimensional courses. So it's pretty wild that we're going 90 miles an hour inside of a building. It's not just 90 on the streets, it's inside buildings. We're doing 90 on some of the coolest courses ever made, like Biosphere 2.
Yeah, really. I mean, 90 miles per hour, like you say, inside of a building. I mean, pretty incredible to say the least. And like I said, how does one decide, well, I'm going to become a Drone Racing League pilot?
Kind of fell into my lap. Drone racing is a pretty new sport. I'd say a good 3 or 4 years old at this moment. And I happened to win a bunch of national world level races and got invited to join DRL at the top.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Now, I was wondering this, do you guys get provided the drones or are you guys building them yourselves? I mean, you say custom built, so are they getting provided to you and then you kind of have to learn the ropes of how to race them? Like, is every drone different or how does that work?
Sure. So most drone racers do build their own drones for personal use, but on the Drone Racing League, they have a fleet of hundreds of identical drones down to the nut and bolts. Oh. So that when we're racing, it comes down to skill, right? Mm-hmm. You're not racing because I have a better drone than the other guy. They're all identical, and we're seeing who is the better pilot.
Well, that kind of definitely evens out the playing field for sure. I mean, kind of making it all fair. Now, I mean, you've already had a bunch of success, obviously, with the DRL in the past 2 seasons. And like I said, you've won 2 of the Allianz World Championship seasons. So what's your strategy? Is there specific maneuvers, specific things on the courses that you look for? How do you go about doing it before your races?
I think it's more about racing smart, Mm-hmm. It's using your competitors' weaknesses against them. And I think the same goes for most other racing, It's not necessarily being the number one most talented. That's not always going to get you a win every single time, right? You got to be smart, play your cards right at the right moments, and that's how you really win.
And I also mentioned that, I mean, you're in the midst of the 2018 season right now, just recently in Arizona at the University of Arizona's Biosphere 2 earlier in March when you were racing there. What was it like racing in that environment? Can you kind of describe the Biosphere 2 a little bit?
Sure. I mean, Biosphere 2 is kind of a one-of-a-kind place, you know. It's a giant little miniature world, little Earth, and we got to race around it. So we're racing in this super futuristic looking building, but we're still in nature, sort of.
Yeah.
And just that whole idea, the juxtaposition of it all was really cool, and it was definitely my favorite race course I've ever raced on in my life.
Wow, I mean, that's pretty high praise. I mean, you say it's kind of a super futuristic looking building, and you guys are kind of racing these super futuristic looking devices with these drones. I mean, I feel like that would feel like you're kind of in a futuristic place in time. So that's pretty cool. Now, you say that the Biosphere 2 is probably one of your favorite courses of all time. Where else would you say you kind of enjoyed racing at throughout your time as a DRL pilot?
Oh, I mean, we've gone to a lot of cool places. We were the championships last year was in the Alexander Palace in London. I'm a big fan of that one, not just because I won, but because it was also a really cool venue. You know, it's this palace looking over London, and it's this giant building with all the stained glass windows and stuff, and we're racing drones in there in a place that is of history, you know?
Of course. Yeah.
So, and then we've been to a bunch of other abandoned buildings, like there's a mall in LA that we did a race at, as well as the Miami Dolphins Stadium. We've definitely gone to a lot of cool places. So to say that Biosphere 2 is at the top of my list is definitely, it's a hard list to get it to the top of.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's really cool, especially right here in Arizona at the University of Arizona. Now, like I mentioned before, you're two-time champion in the past 2 seasons. In the midst of the third right now, what kind of legacy do you think you'd want to leave for up-and-coming drone racing league pilots, especially because this sport is going nowhere but up? I mean, because it's so new, it's only going to gain in popularity. So what kind of legacy would you want to leave and kind of inspire other DRL pilots coming after you?
Well, I already bagged what I wanted to do, which was to be the first World Drone Championship.
There you go.
No one else can take that away from me, luckily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's really just pushing the sport, right? It's a passion that me and the rest of the pilots share. And we really do think it's a viable, cool sport for people to come and watch on a Saturday night or something. It's a refreshing new way to look at competition.
For sure, and I mean, especially now that's like being broadcasted on ESPN and Sky Sports and these top sporting news outlets that are kind of featuring these races. I mean, like I said, it's not going anywhere but up at this point. So, what's kind of the ceiling for you? Where would you personally like to see this sport go? Like, what aren't they doing right now that you want to see happen in the future?
I think it's just mass adoption. Really, it's at the moment. You know, I'd say 3 years ago, if I said I was a drone racer, people would be like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
And at this point, most people have learned and have heard of drone racing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been on ESPN, because it's been on these big name networks. And that's really the goal, is to get people to understand what it is and to enjoy watching it and to get invested in us as pilots, to get invested in the whole ecosystem so that they're excited to watch Jet race or excited to watch my buddy Gab 707 or these other pilots and pick a side and be excited to watch them win or lose and follow along with their story. You know, just like any other sport, really.
Definitely. I mean, character development is kind of not like a video game, but I mean, a video game-esque, I would say. And I mean, we talk about your kind of nicknames, your Jet and then Gab 707, like you mentioned. How did you guys kind of come up with those? Is that something that you've been thinking for a while? You kind of gone by that through your youth? Or is that kind of something where you just said, hey, I want this kind of personality and I'm going to roll with it?
So Jet for me is just my initials. It's something that was Sharpied on all the little tags on my underwear when I was a kid. So, and then when I started drone racing, I was like, wow, this is perfect.
Yeah,
my
really.
parents almost knew this was going to happen. And then Gab, his name is Gabriel. so that's kind of natural. Some other guys have more creative names comparatively, but it's showing your own personality, along with having some kind of pseudonym, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's really cool. It definitely helps with people kind of getting invested in you guys as pilots, and then that'll end up resulting in kind of more fanfare for the sport as a whole. Well, Jet, thanks so much for the valuable insight into the world of a professional drone bracer and pilot. Where can our listeners go to get more info on you and stay up to date on the current DRL season?
Sure. So you can go, I believe this season, 2018 season, is going to be on ESPN this coming fall. So pretty soon, actually. And then if you want to check out me and other videos I make, I'm on Instagram at jet.fpv. I make some cool stuff, I think.
Well, everyone make sure to go check him out and make sure to tune in to the 2018 DRL season. Jet, thank you so much once again. All right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog radio show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 will be right back after this.
In the bright Arizona sun and even on cloudy days, protecting your eyes from dangerous UV rays is important. Now, finding fashionable and functional sunglasses is easier and more budget-friendly than ever thanks to sunglasswarehouse.com. They offer an array of stylish sunnies that won't break the bank. With hundreds of designs for every activity, you're certain to find a pair that fits your needs and lifestyle. Check them out at sunglasswarehouse.com.
You ready to hoop it up? This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
Now, as always, at the end of the Sports Watchdog radio show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060, we're going to pivot on over to the hardwood for our special Happenings on the Hardwood segment. So, we're talking basketball, we're talking the NBA, and we're talking playoffs. Now, we're finally in to the conference finals. The games are set for later today. Today is Sunday. Later today, the matches are set. It's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, who many did not expect to make it here, guys. Many expected Cleveland, and yeah, I know, I hear the story. LeBron James, different team in the playoffs. Well, they were not a good team in the regular season. Credit to them. They've really turned it around in this postseason. They're in the conference finals, and they absolutely dominated the Toronto Raptors, the number 1 seeded Toronto Raptors, and absolutely just swept them again. Bring out the brooms. Didn't even get a game. LeBron sweeps the Raptors 4-0. And that was just not the performance the Raptors wanted, obviously. But Cleveland is in the conference finals yet again, looking for LeBron to make his 8th straight NBA Finals appearance. And they're going to be facing the Boston Celtics. Yes, they defeated the Philadelphia 76ers 4-1. And really, guys, what this could have been would have been a Kyrie Irving, LeBron James Eastern Conference Finals matchups. God, that would have been amazing to see. But credit to this Boston team for coming out and making a conference finals push without their star leading scorer in Kyrie Irving. And they haven't had Gordon Hayward all season. Imagine this Celtics team with Kyrie Irving, with Gordon Hayward, with those guys not injured. This would be an extremely hard-fought series. It's already going to be with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Terry Rozier, who's played out of his mind this series, or this postseason. They're calling him Scary Terry. And honestly, this series is going to be a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters who comes out of the East. I've said this all along. A Western Conference team is going to win the NBA championship. Whether it's the Houston Rockets or whether it's the Golden State Warriors, that's the matchup that's set in the Western Conference right now. And Houston has a lot of confidence. Obviously, they've been preparing to play this Warriors team for the entire season. In head-to-head matchups, they won 2 games compared to Golden State winning 1, so they do already have the advantage. But Draymond Green has come out and said, we don't care who we play. We're just trying to make the championship. And that's a good mindset for this Warriors team to have. They didn't have Steph Curry at the beginning of the series of the playoffs. Came out, still moved on, then beat a very good Pelicans team, and now they're going to play an even better Rockets team, who I genuinely think, guys, is going to come out of this series. I think the reign of Golden State in the West has come to an end. I think Houston just has more firepower. But, hey, honestly, you can't really say that with this Warriors team. The Warriors have so much firepower. Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, 4 All-Stars, compared to Houston, who had 2 All-Stars, but their bench, in my opinion, is just better. So this series is going to be really, really intoxicating to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I do think Houston pulls away in probably 6 or 7. I would not really say this series isn't going to go 7. I don't want to say that. So probably Houston in 7, and then they'll probably end up facing the Cavs just because I think LeBron will be able to lead himself, really, put the team on his back and move on to the finals. And Rockets, guys, it's going to be the Houston Rockets as your 2018 NBA champions. But let me know what you think on Twitter, like I said before, at @SportsWatchdog on Twitter, at @TheSportsWatchdog on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. Let me know your picks and who you think is going to play in the finals this year. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @SportsWatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.